So it wasn't until I was getting loads of messages from people being like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," and I was like, "For what?" It's such a nice moment in the middle of, just in the middle of the game. It's like, and now we're just going to sit back and listen to the song.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, great.
Before we jump into this video, we cannot forget the comment of the day. This one comes from Totally Not CPU, who commented on the Alan Wake interview, Ilka Villi, that I did very recently. The comment says, "I've always said that actors who enjoy their roles thoroughly are my favorite, and I can say without a doubt that Ilka and Matthew as a tag team, both gushing about how they love their roles, is just such a treat. Alan Wake 2 was my horror game of the year for 2023. I hope that the DLC and a potential third game can hit those same notes." Thank you so much for the comment. And yes, it's incredible to see how Matthew and Ilka, they both enjoyed their roles in Alan Wake 2, and it showed, it presented the way every scene was. And I'm super excited for the DLC as well. And now joining in this episode of Behind the Voice is Rebecca Hanssen, who played Alfira in Baldur's Gate 3.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. It's a joy to be here.
That's cool. How was your New Year? What did you do to celebrate this 2024?
Our New Year was super quiet, so I spent it with my husband at his parents' house, and we literally sat on the couch with some wine and went, "Happy New Year, bedtime, great." I'm such a party animal. I know that's the most boring story, but it was really wholesome and lovely, and we'd had a really busy year. Actually, getting to sit and just chill with family was heaven. Yeah,
That's cool. I like it. I also actually had a very chill time with my family. We didn't do anything, technically. I like those things where I just chill out and relax and just do what I want. And when it's a New Year time, we just cut a cake and like, yay, and we say Happy New Year to each other, and we just go by and probably sleep. So yeah, that's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So yeah, it was a decent and it was a good one, I think. I know a lot of people just go celebrate and go crazy. I'm like, I don't want to do that. Would rather sleep. So
Yeah, I've never been, I can't do clubs. I can't do massive crowds of loud music and people.
yeah.
It's not my thing.
Oh yeah, that's the same thing. Oh
No.
my God, it's totally not my thing. I there's a lot of my friends who like, let's go to this place. I'm like, "Ah, sure, not me. So you can go. So I just stay back and just do whatever I can. But do you
Like, I'm
believe?
there in spirit.
Yeah, definitely. Do you set your like goals for yourself? In the new year, do you have like resolutions that people said? Do you do that?
I think I stopped with resolutions that um were really specific, because then you feel as though if you don't achieve them, you failed, especially when it's career stuff, because
Yeah.
you can have goals and kind of aspirations and be like, "Oh, I would love to do X, Y, Z this year." But it's not like I have to do this year, because if it doesn't happen and you've tried really hard, that's the main thing. Like, there's no point in being disappointed that something didn't work out, especially in the creative industries. It's just going to drive you completely mad.
Oh.
So I try not to have specific work related resolution. I'll just have ideas of what I would like to happen. And then in terms of life stuff, again, I think I have more just goals. So rather than like, I need to read a book a month, it's more, I would like to read more this year than I did last year. And so they're more achievable, I feel, which is maybe letting myself off easy. But I think it's quite a healthy way of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, a lot of people set some really crazy goals when they start this year. I'm going to do this, I'm going to get that. This is my year to get that goal that I have not even started working on, and it's way far ahead, but I'll do this year, which is great. Like, I'm happy, but like, it's too far. So it's like, I like setting just the way you said, like setting some goals that you feel that are more achievable, and that way you're happy, and it all works out. And I like that. And I also try to do that as well. And reading books is something that I should do, but I never do it. But it's cool that we setting smaller goals that can be achievable instead of going big and crazy, because then you kind of get disappointed if you don't reach them.
Yeah, and I think I know that I'm real hard on myself anyway. Like, I'm always like, oh, I could have done that better. Oh, I should have done this. So actually adding on top of that is just unnecessary strain. Like, I know I'm not going to sit on my hunches and do nothing all year at
Oh yeah.
all. So I
Of
think,
course.
yeah. So, and I know that I've got like wider kind of career goals and dreams and aspirations. It's just that they don't necessarily have to happen right now, right this year. Um, and I'll be completely fine with that. And then actually, when surprise things come along, which most of the time everything's a surprise, you're like, you want me to be
Yeah.
part of this thing? Great, okay. Um, like you never know what's going to come up, so it's lovely. I prefer it that way.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and speaking of that, that you mentioned about something, and that was like, we are kind of like our own harsh critics, and we just keep on judging and like, oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we did this wrong. How could we? And so it keeps on going. Is that something that you kind of struggle with, or you are kind of in a good balance in a place where, yeah, I do that sometimes, but I also kind of appreciate myself on the work that I'm doing and also pat my back. Do you have that, or it's more like you constantly are judging everything that you do?
No, I'm much better than I was. I think I went to a very strict, very good but strict high school, which very taught you to kind of be constantly pushing for more, which for a little teenage brain, it does kind of start planting these weird seeds
Yeah.
um, of ways that you should be treating yourself and your brain and achievements and all of that stuff. So I think I've had to kind of train myself out of that and be like, I trust myself that I put in the work.
Mm.
I would never turn up to anything unprepared ever. That gives me the absolute fear. So I know that, like, if it's an audition, for example, I know that I will have turned up, I will have done the prep. If it doesn't go exactly how I would have wanted it to go, like I clearly just wasn't hitting, the tone of what the director wanted or whatever, then like maybe the part just wasn't for me, but I really try, and that's okay, and we move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
But obviously, when I first started acting as well, it was like, that's awful. I'm terrible. I will never work again. Whereas now the more you do it, the more you realize like, no, it's just some things you're just not right for. And there's other stuff that you nail, and that's
Mm.
just how it goes. And that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, that's wow, that's at the same time, and that's true, and at the same time that's so hard to achieve, hard to get into that position where you are not so much worried about the results. You're not so much worried about what you did, and something went wrong maybe, but you're not so much judging that, oh, obviously it's because of me. But it's like you've come to a point where you're more like, okay, yeah, maybe I did something wrong. Maybe it wasn't for me. Let's move on and not stay in this place forever. But as you mentioned, like early in the process, that must be harder for you. So how were those days at the time when you started acting? How were those days? What things were you doing to kind of stay in the zone?
Oh yeah. I mean, I guess when you start out with anything and you don't have like a roster of work behind you, you're having to prove to everybody, including yourself, that
Mm.
you can do it. So as much as you tell yourself like, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, it is sometimes like banging your head against a brick wall. Like, come on, just somebody let me in. Um, so there's been many tough days, years even, of just kind of going, am I on the right path? Should I even be doing this? Is there any point? Am I even good enough? Etc. Etc. Um, I think I think because I love what I do so much, and I think that regardless of all of the self doubt that creeps in, there's always that piece of me that is going, no, no, I know that I can do this, and actually I love it so much, um, that I want to continue putting myself through all of the hardship and slight pain of constant rejection, because when you do get the part or whatever, it's always the best feeling. And now I think it becomes easier the more you work, because you've got, that CV behind you, you've got the
Mm.
people behind you that you've worked who have said like, let's work together again, this was great, and so you know that you are right for lots of things, and you can take solace in that fact and know that something else will come up
Mm.
down the line. So yeah, I think it's really difficult sometimes, but checking in with yourself and being like, nope, this is still what I want to do. Okay, then let's keep going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's get the train moving. But do you remember your kind of very first project that you did when you got into acting?
Oh, that is a that's a hard question, because I'm trying to think what the first one would even have been. Because obviously, as a kid, I did kind of like community theater things, and I
Oh.
was always that, like, I was that obnoxious 4-year-old who, if there was a stage and a microphone, I would get up and like sing Baba Black Sheep in front of, I would do, like, I'd need to perform at some point. And then obviously this down and everything kicks in when you're about 10 and you're like, I can't do that. That's awful. Um, so, but no, so I was always just performing for fun as a kid. And then I can remember kind of the first, I remember always knowing that this is what I wanted to do.
Wow.
And I think probably when I started uni, that's when I started doing kind of short films and student productions and literally anything that I could get my hands on, very much for free. Like you do not earn any money when you start a career
Yeah.
at all. Um, but I met some amazing people, and I got to learn how to act on the job, which I feel is quite important. So there's definitely I was literally chatting with I was out with Jen and Aliona today,
Oh wow.
um, and we were chatting about how, it's hilarious that, when you're training on the job, it's just a shame that is being filmed. And so there's yeah. So I can't remember the exact first thing that I would have done, but it would have been a student film of some kind. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I know like everybody just kind of like starts at all those like kind of short films, kind of new ideas that somebody else has, and then you guys come together and just have a film ready, and it's out there, and it's pretty cool. I've never worked on anything, but I remember making my own kind of short film, just me being the writer, editor, director, everything. So I was doing this short, one small silly short film, to be really honest, and it was so fun to just do all. But at the same time, it was so fun to act whatever I did act. But it was really fun doing that project. And I mean, to be honest, you have done so much amazing work after like so far. And being in a video game now in Baldur's Gate, did you ever thought that acting could kind of lead you to work in a video game as a character?
No, so that's the thing. Like, yeah, I started out kind of doing screen acting.
Yeah.
And then it was in 2019, one of my friends kind of said, like, you love doing voices and accents and all of that stuff. Have you ever thought about doing voice work? And I was like, oh, yeah, maybe, I don't know. And I really have him to thank, because he was the one who like, really prodded me and was like, just make a voice real. What have you got to lose? And I was like, yeah, I guess, true. So I made a reel, got an agent, and then COVID happened. Um, and and I'm so thankful for the voice work, because obviously film and TV completely shut down.
Yeah.
Whereas you could keep kind of recording at least some things from home. And I had a few jobs already that I'd got before the pandemic, that could kind of transfer to home studio work. So that kind of kept me going and kept me sane. And then from there, it just kind of, it took off. And Baldur's Gate 3 was actually the first voice job that I got,
Wow.
which is ludicrous. And I pinch myself every day about how lucky I was that happened. And that they took a chance on me, being like, yeah, I think she did it. And obviously because it was mocap as well, so it's like
Yeah.
straight in at the deep end. And it was the most wonderful experience. And now I'm so grateful for it, and I'm so happy to have fallen into the wonderful world of voice, because it's the greatest, and I've met so many wonderful people. Yeah.
Wow, yeah, it's so cool. Lovely to know that that became your first voiceover work at the same time, and video game, and wow, and Baldur's Gate, as you mentioned, like it's such a insane game. There's so many people have played it, are still playing it, me included, and that they're just enjoying everything that the game has. And it's so awesome to see that every single character is fleshed out in a way that when you meet them and when you know a little bit and you keep on spending time with them, you actually really get to know them, and you feel for them, and you know this what the story is. And it's so cool because it doesn't I don't really see that in like to be honest, in any other game I don't really see, but every single character has a so fleshed out story. And so how like you mentioned about motion capture, and I don't know how it must be, but like what was the experience like for you to like doing all the motion capture stuff in the studio?
I mean, so we recorded it at Pit Stop Productions, and they were wonderful at, being really patient as you learn, like, what it was that they needed from you. Um, and I think because I was on it pretty much from the beginning as well. And so that was quite nice because they were still finding their feet,
Mm,
and working out the whole, mocap animation thing. Um, so yeah, it was very, very different. It was a whole new kind of set of skills that you need to learn, of moving naturally, but in the context of a game.
mm,
And obviously, we're not. It's quite a specific type of mocap, because we're not running around a massive studio. It's not like The Last of Us, where you're kind of performing the scenes.
yeah.
It's is more, you start in a base pose, you kind of do your scene and you're talking, but then you have to naturally come back into that base pose again.
Mm,
And so that, it's just a learning curve, and I think you pick it up really quickly. And we had phenomenal kind of performance directors as well, who were wonderful at giving you notes on just how to move your body naturally, and make it, seamless both for you and for the animators, and everything. So yeah, it was a wonderful experience, and Pit Stop were brilliant and very, very patient. That's
that's so cool. I know that you got you were also directed by Neil, and I think Jennifer English as well, both at one point in
yeah,
time. So cool. That's lovely. Oh wow. I did talk to Neil last year, I believe. It was last year when I talked to him. And he was just talking, he was saying so much good stuff about the game. He was like so proud to be, and he mentioned about how he directed as well, and being in the studio with others, and working on this game has been like so incredible for him. But yeah, like it's I just love the fact that there's so many actors who got to be in this game, and that in turn like created a game like this, that when it finally got released in a full version, it just skyrocketed. People started playing, got into it, and there's like so many people cosplay, and people make fan arts, and do covers if there are songs and all that. And so what do you think about this like insane success that Baldur's Gate has gotten? It has already won the Game of the Year award in the Game Awards. There's so many nominations in the BAFTA Game Awards. Like what are your thoughts?
I mean, it's incredible. I am a tiny cog in this machine. So it's really everybody that was involved way more than me deserves everything, because I've I haven't played the game myself because I'm awful at games, so I have watched other people play it. And it is just the most magical, beautiful, detailed, complex, mind-blowing thing. So I cannot fathom the amount of hard work that is put into this by like everybody on that creative team. So yeah, they deserve Game of the Year. They deserve it. They worked so hard, and I am just very, very humbled to, kind of be there with my little hand, being like, "Oh, I did something for you. How nice!" Um,
Oh
yeah,
man.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
I think you also deserve all the praise because like you've done such an incredible job playing Alfira, and I remember there's so many scenes, but I remember meeting her first, and I was like, oh, she's so sweet, and then the other scene happened. I was like, why this happened? And it was like the dark urge and the death of her. And I was like,
yeah. You did the
why?
dark playthrough. What?
Uh,
Yeah.
and I was like, no, why? And I think I immediately switched over to my other save. Like, I'm not continuing with this one. This is not good. Like, it was just felt miserable. I was like, oh my god, she was so good. What did you do? I was like, so it was crazy. And what was your reaction finding out like, oh, I die and by this guy. And so what was your thoughts? What do you think about like that whole moment that it's in the game?
Yeah, I don't I don't think I knew that that was a thing.
Wow.
No, I didn't. Um uh so it wasn't until I was getting loads of messages from people being like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And I was like, for what? And then it became apparent that there's a whole playthrough that you can do where, yes, Alfira is not in it for very long. Um,
Wow.
uh, yeah, um, but that's also fun because it's shocking and loads of people have loads of people are like, oh, I wanted to see more of you, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's nice. You can play again. Don't pick the Dark Urge.
Yeah, just load again and just go through and you'll have a much better time. Because oh my God, I just did not like why did they go with that direction? This is not good. So I was kind of very mad. I'm like, no. But I'm happy that I could go back and then do something else. But speaking
Yeah.
of like all the shooting and everything, like what was a day in the life for you during that time period when you were working with Pit Stop? Like what would you do in the set and how things would proceed?
Um, I mean, so I was working on it for 4 years. In that time, it was very much kind of sporadic on and off. So there could be weeks where I was in like 3 days and I wasn't again for like 2 months, and then I was back again because they were writing it while they were
Hmm.
recording it all. So
Yeah.
also I feel like Alfira became a bigger character than she was at the beginning because I kind of I did however many months on it and was like, how long will this be for? And they're like, um, I don't know. And then, 4 years later, they were like, yeah, no, I think she just keeps popping up in random places. I'm like, great. Um, so, so yeah, it wasn't like I was in, Samantha Beer, who plays Carlac, has the most, crazy stories of her
Yeah.
schedule when she was recording. It's immense, and she is just incredible. So no, for me it was pretty chill. I get the train to get the Croydon, go on in, get a cup of tea. Everybody's lovely. We'll chat. What we're doing today, and then I'd get the suit on when we do like a warm up, both for my joints, but also for the animators to make sure that it's all synced up. And then you've always got a voice director and a movement director, either in the studio or on Zoom. And then it's normally like 4 hours. If you've got lots to do, it's like a
Mhm.
4 hour session. And you just go through it. The weirdest thing for it probably is the fact that you're having to jump through so many different emotions because obviously there are like very complex dialogue trees, which I am relieved that I was not in charge of in any way, shape, or form. Because there's obviously so many different options you can pick when you're
Yeah.
chatting to somebody, um, and so yeah, having to go from like singing a nice song with somebody to like crying because they've smashed your lute, and then back again, and then because then you meet them later and you like them or you don't like them.
Mm.
So you're hopping about the shop quite a lot, which keeps you on your toes, but it's great fun.
Oh wow. Yes. Oh my God. You talked about some great scenes. But yeah, like it sounds so crazy where you jump between scenes. And I know like it's not always done obviously, especially for this game, it cannot be done sequentially. There's no sequence per se, so you have to go back and forth on different things and do different scenes. Was that a kind of a fun challenge for you, or was that sort of also kind of sort of a learning curve? How was it overall doing all of the scenes in this particular manner?
I think it was fine because it was good fun. And you've got wonderful directors on board who kind of keep you on track and can be like, okay, so for this line, we've just come from XYZ location. This thing has just happened. You're feeling like this. Let's, play with it and see what comes out. And yeah, so you've got such a wonderful team of people behind you who have the story in their heads and know exactly what's going on, so you never feel lost. And also, I think coming from doing film and TV as well, where you're constantly jumping around, like you never film anything chronologically, or very, very rarely. And so you're used to kind of doing, one really happy, dancey, clappy scene in the morning, and then, a really horrible scene 5 minutes later. So yeah, I'm used to kind of jumping between emotions, but that was jumping between emotions on speed. It was great fun.
Wow. And like I think one of the most biggest thing that obviously Alfira has and everybody like has largely connected to is obviously the song Weeping Dawn. Did you ever thought that it would be this impactful, that people would be out there now making covers on, making different covers on YouTube and pushing them out on wherever they can? Did you ever thought that that moment could get that much impact?
No, I didn't. I mean, I heard this obviously years ago and was like, oh my God, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that it's taken off and people love it. How wonderful. But no, I don't think I'd really thought about it. And obviously I didn't know what they were going to do with it in the game. I didn't realize that it was going to be, like a proper cutaway, and it's so beautiful, and it's such a nice moment in the middle of and just in the middle of the game. It's like, and now we're just going to sit back and listen to the song.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, great.
Yeah.
So I very pleasantly surprised, as I have been with absolutely everything to do with this game, how lovely people are and how much they enjoy it. So, yeah.
Well, I hope you're enjoying this episode so far, and there's more to come. But I need your help to make this podcast even better. You can join my Patreon, that is patreon.com/behindthevoice, where you can get some perks like getting high priority to the questions that you want to ask to the guests, getting episodes earlier than anybody else, and more. Visit patreon.com/behindthevoice and help support this podcast in the best way possible so that it can get better every episode. And now let's jump back to the video. But like there's so many good moments, and you mentioned about like the destroying her loot, and like I was like, why is that an option? I was like, I just couldn't understand like those things doing to her. But I really liked that part after, once that is destroyed. I really liked that after how you reacted. It was really powerful, and I really felt sad for her. It was really powerful. So I just want to say, you did such a great job there. I was so brilliant. I loved it so much. It was just went through me. I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Thank you. That's very kind. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I felt it. I was like, why are people being so mean to her? She's nothing but nice.
Yes, what are you doing? Stop it. Jesus. Oh man. But yeah, there's so many cool moments. But I remember you saying, I think in the previous interview, was you did do like the One Shot campaign. So how was it doing that last year?
The One Shot
Yes.
D&D campaign that I did. So the One Shot that has now turned into a series, that because nothing is ever just a one shot, is it? So
No.
yeah, it's called Shadow of an Empire. It is run by our phenomenal DM Jack Collard, and kind of, I think, maybe initially orchestrated or thought of by Fraser Blaxland, who plays Damon. And yes, it is so much fun. I only just started playing D&D maybe 6 months ago, so I have like my I say personal campaign. I am absolutely not running it. We have a brilliant woman called Beans who is DM that one. So I started playing with this lovely group of people kind of 6 months ago, and then so felt confident enough when Fraser and Jack were like, "Would you like to come and do a live D&D campaign on Twitch?" And I was like, "That's terrifying. Yes, let's do it."
Wow.
So we're going to be recording the kind of future episodes imminently, which is
Wow.
very exciting. Jack is putting in so much work. His imagination is just mind blowing. Very happy to be along for the ride.
Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, it was really fun watching that. And like it's fun and it's so amazing because I feel like because of Baldur's Gate 3 especially, a lot of people have gone into doing their own D&D campaigns. They have never done it, but they want to jump into it. They jump into it and play it and experience it. I tried it. I'm bad at it. So I was I don't think so. It's made for me. But I really did my best. But yeah, it's so cool to see everybody trying it. But at least I know a lot of people who were kind of doubtful about playing the game themselves, like, oh, this is probably not my kind of game, and but they still tried it. And I know you mentioned that you don't play games, but do you think of trying the game out ever?
Oh yes. I'd be terrified to stream it because I'd be so bad, and people would be like, just just walk forward. It's not that hard, and it'll just be me like running in circles, being like, how does this controller work? So it would just be really soul destroyingly embarrassing for me and everybody involved. So I enjoy watching other people play because they're really good at playing, and so it goes, you know, it's like being in a car with a really good driver, when you can
Mm,
just sit back and relax, you're in safe hands.
yeah.
um so I'm one of those people that like would really really happily just sit beside somebody on a couch and watch them play a video game, but I have no interest in taking the controller myself.
Oh, wow. I completely understand. I think I've told my kind of my sisters and everyone like be like, hey, I think the see video games have gone into a direction where there's like story and like characters and would you like to try? And they're like, oh no, I don't think so. I can hold a controller or whatever. This is no. So I'm like, but they're good stories, of course, but no. So I can understand it's very intimidating to get into it because there's so much controls and you see a controller, you get like what how so I can be very intimidating. But have you ever played games ever in your life, or was that something that you never did?
Yes, I had the GameCube when I
Oh,
was
wow.
child. Um, and I played Animal Crossing on the GameCube, and I had a great time. So that was the main game I played. Um, uh, I,
Wow.
and I'm trying to think if I've played anything since then. Um, but n no, my husband does every so often play. Um,
Wow.
but he enjoys games that kind of like Ratchet and Clank is one of his favorite games, which I
Oh.
think is more like there's it's I haven't really watched him play that much. I don't know much about it. I'm so sorry if people out there are like, what are you talking about? That's nothing to do with the game. But I think it's quite, you're constantly just fighting things. Is less there's a story, but it's less kind of narrative based.
Hmm.
And I think for him that really works just to like switch his brain off at the end of a really long day. Um, so that's the kind of games that he plays, which I'm not particularly interested in. I enjoy like a narrative, characters, voice acting, all of that stuff.
Wow.
So hence why I do really enjoy Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
I just prefer watching other people play
Oh man, hey, that's great. I mean, to be honest, it's just same for me because I love playing games that have a story because I want to connect with the character, I want to connect with the story, and if I do that, if the game is able to help me do that, then it's so fun to experience it. I'm just like I'm all in. I'm a big fan of dramatic moments, so any of drama and stuff like that's happening, I'm like I'm all for it, and that's where I'm looking for moments, some scene that can help me connect with that character, connect with that moment. And when that happens, it's just such a good time. And I'm like all for it. So there's so many games that I play which has that music that keeps me driving, has that scene that makes me go, wow, it's just like, that's where I'm clicking. So I love those things. And a lot of people be like, but don't you play games? Like, yes, but I also want to see that. So it's just it's a fun thing. And there's so many, and there's actually some games that actually just, you don't do much. You kind of like simply just walk around and you just see the story, kind of go by in front of you, and you see characters and you talk to them, and then you have like kind of choices like Baldur's Gate, but you don't do much. You just kind of walk around, and it's very simple and relaxing in some ways, but the stories can be a little darker. But like there's those games as well. So I think it's, at least right now, the games where people who have not been into game or have never played the games can actually see and experience what those stories are, instead of just going all crazy and just slashing and just smashing controllers. But yeah, it's like we have come a long way, and there's like so many different games, and I just love that we can experience everything.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, whatever you're into, there's something out there for you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Do you have like kind of like a memorable moment as you were working with Pit Stop Studios? Do you remember something that you would always remember as you worked on this project?
Okay, I'm going to try and give a different answer to what I gave before, which was the playing the lute, which is a stick with balls on it. But that is really like the main thing, like that just sticks in my mind because it was so funny and it was so much fun. And just yeah, when you just kind of realize in the moment what it is that you're doing, it's like 9 a.m. on a Monday morning and you're standing in a full black suit with balls on it, holding a stick, pretending to play chords. And you're like, this is weird, man. This is my job. This is so fun. And you've just got all these professionals in the studio being like nodding their heads like, yep, this is what we're doing. This is what we need. So like that really does stick in my mind as like a key wonderful moment. And, and then I'm trying to think of some other ones. I mean, so I also voice Yenna in the game, and I don't want to give too much away because obviously lots of people have only just started playing it, they've not finished it yet, and all of that stuff. So there's some playing Yenna was a lot of fun because I got to have I got to kind of try to find the physicality of a kid who is nervous and really sweet, and like how would she stand and all of that stuff. So that also was so much fun because obviously with film and TV I would never get to play a 10-year-old. That would be weird. So the opportunity to be able to do that was great. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, it's such amazing to hear that playing that instrument with a stick. Oh man, it's so hilarious to just find out like, okay, we were doing this scene on a stick. I'm like, oh, that was good. Sure. I'm just kind of imagine like, okay, I guess that worked. But yeah, it's amazing how they're able to take that and then convert it into something like that you can see in the game. But when you first saw yourself in the game, like how you looked and how everything is and how all of it looks, what was your kind of initial reaction? Was that, or like kind of also hearing yourself in the game, was that kind of weird to like hear yourself like, okay, it's coming from that character? Was that weird, or was that, kind of an own experience to see it?
Yeah, it was it was a lovely experience. I mean, when I'd first gone in, Pit Stop have all of the kind of D&D hardback kind of manual books. And so they had flicked to the page describing like tieflings. Obviously, I had done my research before and looked it all up and what have you, but it was fun because they kind of described ish what she's going to look like. So I kind of had the image in my head, but then seeing her for the first time and everything that they'd, she's beautiful. And so it was just, it was a really lovely moment, kind of getting to watch and listen to something right in front of me that had been in my head for a long period of time. That was good. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. She is really, really cool, and I love the design. Love everything about it. To be honest, I love everything about that the game has. It just looks so beautiful, so cool. The music is amazing. Everybody, every character design is amazing. So it's really, really wonderful. And like you again, as I mentioned, you've done such a great job working and being this character that people are loving. People are really enjoying it. And so I just wanna overall just say thank you for doing that and just being the best that you could. But it was really cool to see you on The Witcher season 2. I was like, wow, listen, I had no idea that you would be there. So what was like working on The Witcher? Like, what was that experience like?
Yeah, I appear for the shortest period of time. Like I, I, I have no claim to being a large part of that show, but it was a magical like small period of time to be a part of. Um was Yeah, it was mind blowing. Like the sets on The Witcher are just phenomenal. The whole thing is just we were filming in a studio in Arborfield for kind of the end of the
Hmm.
episode that I'm in,
Yeah.
where we're all sat around this big kind of table and we're discussing this thing. Um, and there's an actor called Sean Dooley who is in that scene with me, who is one of the nicest actors you will ever meet in your life. He deserves all the good things in life. But obviously, because we were filming in a studio, they had loads of the other sets kind of dotted around, but hidden behind these like big walls. And I was like,
Wow.
oh my God, I wonder what's in there. They look amazing. And Sean was like, let's go have a look. And I was like, I can't do that. I'll get in trouble. And he's like, I won't. So he just took her around. And like, we just got to walk into these just, phenomenal sets that have all just been built out so beautifully, like to the most minutiae of details on the table. Um, that was a magical experience because you feel like you're there, you feel like you're in the world.
Yeah.
So I was really lucky to get to go to those get to go to those studios and to get to work with Sean, who had the guts to be like, yeah, let's go and have a look around. Just be like, oh, we got lost, sorry. But nobody minded. It was fine.
Wow.
So yeah, it was magical and nerve wracking, and as all of the best things should be. You should always have those happy nerves in your tummy, and you know that you're doing something good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wow, that's so cool. Yeah, it was yeah, the whole Witcher series in itself is like just everything said as you mentioned, like just looking from our perspective, I can only see if that maybe that's set, maybe that's not, but like it's everything looks so cool just watching it. And I really like the scene. I really really enjoyed the Witcher. I'm just enjoying it as well, and I played the games as well. So it's just so cool that we get to see that. But like you mentioned, like the sets being so cool and all of that. Is there a franchise or kind of like a movie that you would love to be a part of?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, so I love period dramas.
Wow.
So if I could be like, yeah, I'm Downton Abbey was on. I was like, oh man, I'd love to be in that. That would be
Wow.
so much fun. I want to just swan around in period clothes and speak properly. So yeah, I'd love to do like a period drama. I'd love to be my cat just walking along the street, don't mind me. Um, but also I do love fantasy. I absolutely adore fantasy. So getting to be a part of The Witcher was a dream, and I would love to be part of anything else that is set in that kind of world where it's just there's magical elements. The costumes are just stuff that you never get to wear in your daily life.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that would that would be a dream.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Do you have like kind of like a favorite movie of yours that like if you're talking to anybody, if this kind of discussion comes up on, you would always say this movie's name all the time?
I don't have a favorite movie. I have I enjoy like I really love 80s and 90s films. I think that there's just something so um I enjoy the grain on them. I know that's like a strange
Yeah, I
thing to
understand.
say, but they're just they're they're just so beautiful. And I feel like now that things are, you know, 5K HD ultra, it's
Yeah, I know, I get it.
it's really cool. Um, but I don't know. I think there's something really special about those kind of like 80s, 90s films. So like I love the Goonies. I love Galaxy Quest. I love Ferris Bueller's Day Off. To name a few. Princess Bride. All of
Oh
those kinds of
wow.
things. So if I could go back in time and be part of one of those films, that would be great.
That's so awesome. Well, before I let you go, I would love to do this that I actually stopped doing, but I would love to ask you kind of 5 random questions about anything. So I hope that'd be okay to do that. Just 5 random questions of anything. I hope that's okay.
Okay, go on, go on,
Alright,
do it.
so I see you have a cat around, but do you like cats and dogs both, or do you just like cats more so?
I love cats and dogs. When I was a child, I was obsessed with dogs. I so desperately wanted a dog. I wanted to be George from the famous five, a golden retriever called Timmy. Um,
Wow.
but my mum, bless her, is so incredibly allergic to animals, and she loves dogs. But we couldn't have one because she would have an asthma attack
Oh,
almost immediately. So I so desperately wanted a dog when I was younger. I think now though, life is really busy, and as much as I adore dogs, I just know that I wouldn't be able to give it the time, the energy, and space that it
yeah.
deserves. We have a small house in London, and I don't, live. If I worked from home all the time and I had a massive park down the road, like that would be totally feasible and absolutely fine. But
Mm.
I just know that at this time in life, I wouldn't be able to give a dog everything that it deserves. Whereas our cat is the most chill thing.
Yeah.
We kind of we leave her for the day. She sleeps pretty much all day. Then we come home in the evening, and she likes her cuddles and strokes, and then she'll just go and sleep again. Like she's so chill. But we're very lucky with her. She is an affectionate cat. She really likes to kind of like have her chin scritches and everything, but isn't needy at all. So we perfect.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good thing about cats that they can just take care of themselves and just don't need all the attention all the time. They can just do whatever they want. You're there, you're in the house, great. I'm just gonna do what I want. So I love that. Is there a piece of advice that you ever received, whatever, or the best piece of advice that you ever received in your life, whether it's acting or just in general?
Hmm. There probably are some really good ones, but the first one that pops into my mind is oh, actually no, okay, I've got two. So my mum says, you know what? It's good enough. Which I think I really enjoy. Like we both are really hard workers, we're both quite hard on ourselves. And I think that for us having that, take a deep breath and be like, you know what? It's good enough. Like we're perfectionists. And so
Yeah.
being able to step back and be like, everything doesn't have to be perfect, and
Mm.
that's okay. For us, it's quite healthy. Um, and one of the things that my husband said to me was, you have to learn to be content with the low ebbs of life, which I also really enjoy, and I think especially came, to the fore in COVID, where it was like, yeah, you
Mm.
do have to just enjoy all of the little things. It's so important. Because why do the little things have to be little things? Like
Yeah.
this is what life is. Enjoy all those moments. Enjoy your cup of tea at lunchtime. Savor it. Enjoy looking out the window and spotting a bird. And just wonder what its life is like. That seems like a silly example, but
Yeah.
all of those things. Life doesn't need to be um constantly doing crazy jobs and meeting amazing people. Like that's wonderful, and I love all of those things too. But if you can't be doing that every day,
Mm. Yeah.
um and and that's okay. In fact, balance is really important. So both of those really sound advice. Clever
Wow.
people.
Yeah, that's a great advice, to be honest. Yes, you like, We should enjoy every moment that there is that life brings us. And I love that example actually that you gave about, like, just looking at outside, looking at the bird and thinking about, because I've done that. And I'm like, oh, this is really cool that I went into the thought process. And unfortunately I have to go back to this, but like it's so cool to like just look around and just be in the moment and just enjoy what we have right now, and instead of worrying and complaining and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a great advice, and I love that. And if is there a piece of advice that you would like to give anyone, whether they are starting out in acting, whether it's again life in general, what is that piece of advice you would like to give?
Ooh. Okay, I'll do for acting, but also I guess it can kind of be applied to lots of different things. But it is just um have other things that bring you joy. Um, because I think when I first started out in this career, I really put all of my eggs in one basket, which it's important to have a focus and be like, this is what I'm doing, and I'm going full steam ahead with it. Of course, that's important and that's great, but um, I think it's really good advice to have a lot of other things, hobbies
Mm.
and things that bring you joy, because otherwise you're going to get so caught up in this one thing that you're trying to do, and when you don't have full control over it and it's not going the way that you planned, and you have nothing else to be like, you know what, I'm going to park that for now. I'm going to focus on this thing. And it can play with your brain. Whereas even if you have, a hobby that is like one of my simple hobbies is crochet. I like to sit and like watch something on telly and I'll crochet a scarf.
Wow.
Easy. It takes your mind off things. You're creating something, um, and I always feel much calmer afterwards. So like regardless of like what
Mm.
crazy day or anything that bad has occurred, I can just be like, you know what, I'm going to do this other thing that I really enjoy. Um, so yes, I think have other things that bring you joy. Very important.
Wow, yeah, that's great advice. Yeah, to have that, you need to have that other thing, as you mentioned, to keep on going and trying new things. And yeah, that's pretty cool. That's I love that. I love that. I try at that as well. It's sometimes working, I guess. Figure it out. But okay, the other one is like, what is kind of your biggest obsession in life?
Oh, my biggest obsession. I think it fluctuates. I'm trying to think if I have like obsession that has uh no, that's a shit obsession. Um uh okay, so what like yeah, I get obsessed with different things as, in different parts of my life, like a book or a show
Mhm.
or whatever. So like last year my obsession was this new musical called Operation Mincemeat. It's just like one of the best things I've ever seen. And I went out and told everybody they have to go and see it. It's the best thing ever. And I had the album on repeat for months.
Oh
Um,
man.
so I'll get obsessed about different things kind of each year or sometimes each month. But my my overarching obsession from a childhood is probably um this is such a rubbish one, but it's tidiness. I'm obsessed with things being like tidy and clean. I'm
Wow.
I'm one of those people that like yeah, I can't go to sleep if things aren't kind of in some order
Hmm.
in the house,
Yeah.
which is boring, but hey ho, like that's part of my personality. We're going with it.
Oh no, I don't think so. I don't think so. That's boring. I think that's great. A lot of people have that. Like, and it's good because, to be honest, like I know like my mom and my dad, they both have it, and that has gotten up to me. So I do that every time. I'm like, it has to go. It's kind of like
Yes.
it's weird. Like I'm doing this. I'm like, I remember like just tidying up, and I'm like, it's weird. I do this every time. I don't know, but why? But I do this every time. It's good. And then I realized, like, why am I even asking this question to myself? Just let this get this done. Let's move on. Like, so yeah, it's just weird, and it's cool. I like that. It's a good obsession to have, and it's a very good thing to have. Like, you tidy your room, clean your stuff, and just like it looks better, you feel better, and it's like it's fresh. It's cool, and it's good to be around instead of like things out there here and there. It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Has to be.
Clear space, clear mind. Yeah.
Exactly. Clear space, clear mind. If I
Exactly.
only could know how to sum things up together. But um, so if you had the opportunity to create a video game yourself, what kind of story would you like to tell?
Okay, so yeah, it would need to be very narrative based. It would need to have lots of in-depth, interesting characters. Basically, Baldur's Gate 3. No, I think yeah, it would be set in some kind of it would be set in a fantasy land. There would be magic. It would be beautiful animation. But it also wouldn't be particularly violent, and you wouldn't have to fight lots of things. It would be more kind of like, now get to this place and you'll get a prize. And go and talk to the gnomes under the mountain, and they'll tell you where the treasure is.
That's so sweet. Oh, that's so lovely. I think there's some games like kind of like this where everybody's like kind of relaxed and just doing, because like Animal Crossing, where you're just chilling out, you're just doing your stuff, and like it's just very chill and calm, and you're not fighting people for no reason. So like, I like that. I like there's magic and all that stuff, and so in that time period, I would love to. It would be a very cool and calming game. You just come back from doing whatever you're doing and just come back and relax and just get in the narrative and get to know and enjoy the stories. That'd be great. I would love to play that. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Well, in the end, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time, really, and talking to me about your character, about acting, about all of this, nerves and all that stuff. Thank you so much for doing this. This has been really fun.
No, thank you so much for having me on. This has been great.